I am Kim Tracy with the Maxwell James Speaker Agency. So excited to have Dr. T.C. North talk about different kinds of power and how does power and mindfulness go together with leadership?
Yeah, great. I love this topic. And it's the mindful power work that we're doing. Power, let's talk about three kinds of power, Kim. There's personal power, and personal power just comes from within, and it has nothing to do with anything external to oneself. There's influential power, which is how much can you influence me in our interactions, how much can I influence you, or how much can we influence the world? And that's the second kind of power. And the third is positional power. And in corporations, it's really obvious. If I'm your manager, I'm your supervisor, I'm your leader, you report to me, I have positional power over you. And what's been really interesting in the research around mindfulness is there was significant research on what happens when people increase their positional power. And what do you think happens when I go up the ladder? Do I become more mindful or do I become less mindful? Do I become more empathetic or do I become less empathetic? What do you think is the normal brain response?
Well, I already know the answer because you did this to me the first time we met. They actually become less empathetic, even though I had said I thought people would become more empathetic.
Yeah. You learn well. Yeah, and that was very interesting to me. The normal brain response is to become less empathetic, less mindful as we increase in power, which is the old concept of power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts absolutely is actually true. And it's the normal brain response. Unless other pieces of research, and these are pretty early pieces of research, and it's hard to study the brain to actually get this information about empathy, is if you take a different group who are already what was called pro-social, which means they're already focused on the well-being of others, which is mindfulness of others, level 2 mindfulness, mindful of others. And when you study that group and what happens when you increase their positional power, they actually become more empathetic. Not less empathetic. They become more mindful. So the work that we all are doing around training people in mindfulness as they are becoming more and more powerful in organizations is really critical work so that we have leaders in the end who are very mindful leaders, not only with themselves and others, but with the planet. And the one other piece I'd love to do with you today is I'd like to talk about one of my favorite people to talk about, which is a 16-year-old girl who is a very poor girl, and how she used her mindfulness and her personal power to win a Nobel Peace Prize and to change the perceptions of a lot of the world. And this is, and I always have trouble with her name, Malala Yousafzai. She's the Pakistani girl, 16-year-old Pakistani girl who was fighting for the right to be educated. And even though the Taliban warned her and told her not to go to school and not to talk out about girls and women's right to education, she continued to do so. And one day a Taliban came by and shot her in the head for it, left her for dead. The world kind of embraced her, took her to England, she recovered, and she has continued to speak out for women's rights for education around the world, and was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize for her effort. So here is this poor Pakistani girl, no positional power, no influential power in the world, but she has the personal power and the personal conviction to stand up for what she believes. And look at what she's now done. She has now addressed the United Nations. And now she has influential power. But it all starts with personal power. So I wanted to just chat about that. And a lot of people go, well, I'm not in a position to have influence, or I'm not in a position to have power. Yeah, personal power has nothing to do with any of that.
Perfect. Do you have a tidbit that you would love to leave with our audience today?
I think the tidbit I'd like to leave, rather than a technique, is an awareness that all true power comes from within. And don't seek power from outside, but seek to bring more power from inside and to develop yourself. Bring that power to the world.
Perfect. Thank you so much. If you would like to bring TC North in for one of his amazing keynotes or workshops, please contact me, Kim Tracy, through maxwelljames.net. Thank you so much.
Thank you.